A loaf's tale. When I started to frame and reframe ways of looking at bread, I came up with many catchy phrases, titles, and sayings. Give bread, the life of bread, the afterlife of bread. Pass the bread, not the buck. A loaf is where the heart is. Make bread, not war. Bread is life. Life after bread. And my favorite, a loaf's tale. So I sat at my desk and wrote this story. Once upon a time, a baker's wife wanted to make a new kind of bread. She was tired of the same bread every day. She wanted something different and exciting. Now the baker's wife loved peas, so she took some peas and made pea bread. It was green and funny looking. When she tasted it, she gagged. It was horrible, so she threw it away. She loved apples, so she made apple bread. But it didn't come out as bread, it was cake. She then tried carrots, but the same thing happened, and she ended up with cake. She tried many of her favorite foods: bananas, strawberries, avocados, lollipops, fish, sausages. She even tried ice cream, but that was a big mess. Weeks went by and none of the recipes worked. She started to miss bread. Every day her husband the baker baked bread for the people of the village. And every day the bakery was full of people enjoying his bread. They shared it with their friends. They gave it as gifts. They ordered big loaves for their birthdays. Every day the house was filled with the scent of freshly baked bread. It drove the baker's wife crazy. She became unhappier every day when her new bread failed. She became angry at all the happy people buying bread in her husband's bakery. She hated the smell of freshly baked bread. One day, she told her husband he had to stop making bread. Stop making bread? He couldn't believe it. But he could see how unhappy his wife was, and he loved her very much. So he decided to close the shop for a while to please his wife. The people in the village couldn't believe it. The baker had stopped making bread. They couldn't share it with their friends, or have big loaves for their birthdays. The people became sad and angry. They started fighting and quarreling among themselves as to why the baker closed his store. The baker became sad when he saw the unhappy people. He begged his wife to let him open the shop again, but she said no. Everyone was unhappy, especially the baker's wife. She couldn't make any new exciting bread. She started to secretly long for the taste of warm, freshly baked bread. But she was a stubborn woman and didn't want to give in. The baker didn't know what to do. The people were ready to throw him out of the village, and his wife was still sad. One day, he went to visit the old woman who lived in the woods. He told her what had happened, that his wife was unhappy, that he had stopped baking bread, and the people were angry and unhappy. He hung his head and sighed. What am I to do? Suddenly he sat up, raised his head, and sniffed the air around him. The old woman was baking bread. He could smell it. She was a master bread maker, for it was she who taught him how to make bread. She took the bread out of the oven and put it on the table to cool. The baker's mouth began to water, and his tummy began to grumble. The old woman cut him a slice, and when he tasted it, he knew what he had to do. He had to bake bread. He thanked the old woman and ran off home. He went to the kitchen of the bakery and got all the ingredients ready for bread. Flour, yeast, water, and salt. The next morning, he woke up earlier than usual and started to bake bread. Soon the house was filled with the smell of freshly baked bread. The baker was happy and singing. His wife woke up and smelled the bread and smiled. She went down to the baker's kitchen and sat at the table. She saw a freshly baked loaf in front of her, and she knew what she had to do. She cut the loaf and tasted the slice. It was delicious. She smiled, she danced and sang. The baker opened his shop with a smile on his face. The people came running when they smelled the freshly baked bread. They were happy, dancing and singing. The village was at peace again, all because of a loaf of bread. And the baker's wife? Did she ever try to make new bread again? What do you think? The end. Or is it? One day, the butcher's wife wanted... Just kidding. That really was the end. Thank you for reading A Loaf's Tale by Anne Marie Stewart.